Hey guys, Jessie Ladson with Ladson Construction. We're going to talk a little bit about myself today. It's really something a little different. We usually have a individual on and a guest, but we're going to do something a little different today. We're really going to dive into what the business is like. We're going to talk about my family and the impacts it has had, and ultimately how do we align ourselves with long-term relationships. So, hope you enjoy, and let's go. Didn't really have a routine. I just got up and started working. I would check job sites, I'd check emails, make sure that the material was on the job site. I was calling guys before 7 o'clock, make sure they were coming up. So I was boots on the ground in the field every single day. I would check on my job sites till about 10, 11 o'clock, and I was back home. So from about 10 to about 1 o'clock, it was ordering materials, making phone calls, and then prospecting for new work. And then I was back out that afternoon, back on the job sites, pushing the brooms, picking up materials, picking up trash. So I was a laborer. I was a laborer for the first solid year of being a company. So there wasn't a set routine in place for me. It was wherever there was a need, it's what I had to fill. It was pretty, nobody really knew what was going on. When I launched off from Gilbane and started my company in 2018, the market was strong. It was very steady. Versus, let's compare to what we see now. What you see now is out of control. It's not. This cannot. It can't stay stable the way it is right now. It's not going to. And so I compared to 2018 when I got started. 2018 was a very steady market. I could forecast better. I could project better. I could better determine when I was going to need my first hire. As of today, and my team and Amber can speak for this. It's we're always kind of like we're reacting on shit. We got another job. There's two more coming up. Man, we didn't get them. Now we're reacting. And it's just it's kind of a frustrating time. It's kind of frustrating time because it's hard to project out and forecast what's going to happen. So in 2018, it was a steady market, and it was really easy for me to look out and project and forecast where we were going and what we needed.
You were talking about kind of reactionary. It's kind of like which do you choose first? Do you focus on getting the work and then figuring out how to fulfill the work, or do you focus on getting the base structure and then going and doing the work?
It's a fine line between the two. I don't believe in just hiring someone just for a single job. I think that's where a lot of people fail. I believe in hiring people more organically, but what happens is that in construction right now, things happen quick, and you got to be ready to hire. And so, in the market, it's hard to find people to hire that fit the mold. I mean, we've been through a few people that just didn't work out. And the reason that is because we were reactive and we're not being proactive about our hires. So, what I would prefer something a bit more steady. I mean, we're doing really well right now, but it does create a level of anxiety and stress that's hard to explain to people when the work's coming, but you don't know which one of the 12 it is and when it's going to hit. And then before you know it, you got 6 more that hit, and then 3 are delayed, and you got 2 hires that are coming. And it's just a forever game of chess. Oh my gosh. So when I started a company, I think for the first year, I was looking for every excuse to get out of it because I was scared to death. Scared to death that I had a hard time seeing where I was versus where everyone else was. And I was so tied up on comparing my current situation to where people were. I was comparing a guy who had just been doing this for 3 months, haven't made $1 yet. And I'm comparing myself to the guys that are doing 10, 15, $20 million a year. And I just couldn't do that. So I was ready to give up again, making excuses. I was about to shut it down, about to go get a job. And there was like this, I don't know, maybe it was a spiritual thing, but there was a bigger power pulling at me. And, I ultimately asked myself the question, what if I did quit? That would be the biggest regret of my life is either A, not going for it, and B, quitting. That was the biggest regret. So it was about a year into it when I realized I was all in. And when I realized that, I made the first hire. We got the office. And at that point, I'm like, well, hell, there's no turning back now. Like I get 3-year lease I got to pay for. I got to figure this shit out. So that was kind of a turning point for me. And then when I really started to see that I do well with people, I said, okay, well, how do I capitalize on that? And how do I backfill other areas of the business that need to be filled in order for us to catapult to another level? And so essentially, that's when I realized that I got, that this can happen. Anything that you do can be a deductible to some point. Whether if you have to create another LLC or another entity, there's ways that you can navigate the tax system. But I would never, ever recommend doing that without having a tax professional in your corner, which is why we meet with our tax individual CPAs twice a year. We got a meeting coming in July to talk about preparing for 2023 taxes or 2023, we got to pay 2022 taxes. So, meet with the individuals, but it's important for them to understand your lifestyle and what you like to do and want to do. I'll use an example. I bought a really expensive boat last year. I created an LLC because we fish a lot of tournaments as professional anglers. Well, that business is in the business to win tournaments. And it is. We record expenses and we record income and profit as it should. So it is a operating business, but it did also allow me to write off my boat. Great example. So there's businesses that you can create to offset some of the liabilities that you have to turn them into assets. So my normal routine during the workday is a little different than the weekends. So during the workday, I wake up at 5 a.m., get up, take a cold shower. So the cold shower releases a lot of the hormones in the body and releases you to get into a state to where you're very alert. Your energy's better. I feel more motivated throughout the day. So get out of the shower, and then I do my meditation time. I go outside with the pup, sit by the pool for about 15 minutes. No distractions, no cell phone or nothing. It's just me, the stars. Say a prayer in the morning, sit there with my pup, come back inside. I read Bible verses, devotionals, and then I pick up the book and I start reading. I do all of this before 5:45 in the morning. And I do that because 5:45 is my coffee time and I wake up my daughter at 6 a.m., not a minute later. So we have my daughters on a routine in the morning as well. But my mornings start no later than 5 a.m. every single day.
So so keep on going through the rest of the morning up until you get to
Yep.
the office.
So right after I wake up my daughter, her and I usually hang around the house and we watch some television and drink some coffee, and she drinks her juice, and we usually kind of keep it easy till about 6:20, 6:30. My wife comes in, cooks breakfast, and I'm usually out of the house by 6:45. 6:45, and I'm to the office by 7:15, 7:20. And then at that point, we get to work. That's a real tough one, because I use myself as an example, and I never had any traits or characteristics of being a business owner, ever. I knew that I worked hard. I knew that I was committed, and I knew I was really good at what I did. And looking back, I was an introvert, and I'm still an introvert to a certain point. Being a business owner is still uncomfortable for me a lot of the times. Getting out in public is still uncomfortable for me a lot of the times. And you would think that that's a trait of someone that needs to work inside of a company. Well, it is, but if it wasn't for everyone else here that pushes me to do more things, like, our payroll is getting pretty large right now, and that motivates me to get out and sell. So I think anyone can get out and run a business. It's just a matter of how successful do you want to be. I have a nephew who started a concrete business, and he can be as successful as he wants, and he's a hard worker, but he doesn't do really well with people, but he's doing good. So I think anyone can get out and start a business. It's just how successful do you want to be, and what does success mean to you? You got to ask yourself that question. What does success mean to you? Success to a lot of people may be, look, I want to pay my bills, and I don't want to work for someone. and that's their level of success, which is great. But then you have other individuals, such as myself, where there truly needs to be a legacy. There needs to be an impact. There needs to be, a community built. And so ultimately, you got to ask yourself, what does success mean to you? Because I tell you, because we still need people flipping burgers. We still need people serving coffee. We still need truck drivers, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just, what does success mean to you?
Become financially free.
So being financially free is another question that you got to ask yourself. Because for me, I don't think I'll ever be financially free because of all the shit that I buy and all the boats that I want. Ultimately, I would love to be financially free, but if someone's out there and they got side hustles and they're making some extra income, like, don't just put that stuff in a bank. Get it invested somewhere. Like, truly look at the return on these things. And I'm not a big stock and bond or crypto guy. I like properties. I like investments. I like commercial. I like real estate. That's what I love. And ultimately, that's where I see the biggest returns at. Even compared to the companies, that's where the biggest return is. But all that started with just a little bit of extra money. And when I mean a little bit, this started with, hey, I saved $3,000. I saved $5,000. Even if you got to partner up with someone, split it down the middle, and just keep rolling this stuff over. We're looking at a deal right now, me and two partners on 5 acres that we want to develop, and I can't mention the corporate names, but ultimately it is an express car wash. We got a multi-tenant building with drive-throughs. It's a huge investment, but we're doing that. We're using our money as a down payment, but ultimately we are creating a fund to fund the whole deal. We control it. We reap the benefits of it, but now we're rolling that money and investment into a new deal. And so it all just starts so small. And that's where a lot of people have a hard time understanding is how much money do I need, or I need a lot of money to start. You don't, because I didn't have a dime when I started.
Something for an Airbnb, what would your first steps be?
So the first Airbnb, so you ultimately need to figure out how much you want to spend and what area you want to be. So for example, my wife and I knew that we wanted to be in St. Augustine. That's a place that we love to go. And so we found a realtor in the area, which was our cousin. It just was a coincidence. And we toured about, maybe it was 6 different properties before we found one that we liked. It was beat up. It was over what we wanted to spend, but we knew the potential that it had and where the market was going. So we bought it at a very reasonable rate, and then we put quite a bit of money into it. So when that happened, we asked our realtor for some recommendations for property management. And that's how we found the individual that we have. But being in the industry that I'm in now, I could pick up the phone and call any of the property management firms, commercial, that I know, and they would recommend someone in the residential side to manage Airbnbs. Or, more than not, a lot of these individuals have side hustles where they are managing Airbnbs on the side. And property management firms are not cheap. They're 20-25% of the net that you get on a rental property. So if you net $100,000, you got to pay them $25,000. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
That's a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like first month's rent usually goes to the property manager.
Oh, no. I wish it was. But it's worth it. I say it's worth it because we're completely hands off. We don't even have to think about the house. It just does its thing. And essentially, I put myself in their shoes and I say, well, how much would it cost me to manage that house? How much time would I have involved in that house? Could you imagine if I was leaving my office 3 times a day to run to St. Augustine to go check on a house?
And then how should business owners themselves be preparing for it?
I think people need to look at their burn rates as individuals and companies. What I mean by that is that you know what your mortgage is, you know what your vehicle payment is, you know what insurance costs you. You need to see what all that costs you per month. Groceries, going out to eat, and then see what you're making. Truly know how much you're saving every month and start reinvesting into that. And there's rules out there, 70-30, 80-20. But what I say is reinvest as much as you feel comfortable with. Because reality is that something's going to happen. I think Florida and Jacksonville in particular is an incredible place to last, or I would say to plow through it. I think we are going to see a slowdown in certain areas of the industry, but that's also why we're looking into other areas of the industry. We're looking into industrial. We're doing more retail development. We're not doing much office. Now we're looking at investments for the company. So there's all these reasons why we're doing this, because something is going to happen. I don't know to what magnitude. It could be horrible. It could just be a bump in the road. I don't know. But I can tell you, half of what I do is getting us prepared for that. And we have been able to put ourselves in a really good position financially as a company to prepare for what's going to happen.